Hi lovely people, welcome back to Andertons TV with me, Gabriella Jones, and you might be thinking, who is this brummy lady with a sparkly guitar? And basically I've started a new series with Andertons TV called Gabriella's Legends Chat, where we talk to some stars that we already know and love, as well as some acts that are kind of on the cusp of greatness, who we hope are going to be our future legends. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I think I know of someone who is going to be a future star, do let me know, tag me on Instagram, say hello in the comments, and I'll try and get them on. Hello lovely people, and welcome back to Andertons TV with me, Gabriella Jones. And you might notice that we're not in the usual Anderton studio today with the Andertons family. We've gone rogue because Jared is on the road, so I've taken the show on the road today. Please give a lovely warm welcome to the one and only Jared James Nichols.
Thank you for having me. Hey everybody, I am so glad to be here. And yeah, we're not at Andertons, but we're gonna make this work. This place is awesome.
We're gonna make it work.
Totally.
And I heard that Jared was passing through the Midlands, so I thought we've got to get him while we can.
You snagged me. This was perfect timing. This was like my only day off, but a day off for me is kind of different, right? So this morning I was at Black Star doing some fun stuff. Yeah. Hanging with you, and then having a guitar clinic tonight at the Guitar in Birmingham.
See, you're doing it all.
Doing it all.
Do it all, and thank you so much for finding the time to chat to Andertons.
Of course, I love Andertons.
And I was saying before we started rolling that obviously this is not your first time on Andertons, so you had a lovely chat with Captain Lee about 7 years ago. And then you came back on to talk about the signature guitars. And the first thing that I wanted to ask you, because you have been on quite a journey, in that first video, you say, I'm just coming over to the UK, we've just started coming here, and I'm on tour with Walter Trout.
Feels like a long time ago. I feel like when I first came here, I remember I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. And it was actually, I think that was the second trip. Because the first time I came, I played like one show. But yeah, it's crazy. It feels like a long, long time ago. I've been a lot of places since then. Put a lot of miles on this body by then, you know?
Bless you.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to ask you, and I love asking people this, because I think there'll be a lot of people at home who are in different stages of their career. There might be people starting to learn and playing in their bedrooms for the first time, hooking up their pedals, learning what they like, and then people that are like veterans that have been touring for a long time. So when you were starting out and you were doing that Walter Trout tour, obviously you've come such a long way. What are some of the things that you've learned on your journey? Goodness.
I feel like from then until now, I've learned just like almost everything about being on the road and what it takes, honestly, to not only survive but thrive on the road. It's a lot different than a lot of people think. I was just having a conversation yesterday with a friend where when I first started going out on tour, I was thinking, man, what am I going to do with my days? It's like, if we're going to play a show, the show isn't until 8 or 9 p.m. I have all day before, Get
a Mackey's.
Yeah, exactly. Go to McDonald's and hang out or what?
Get 20 nugs, go to a guitar shop.
Exactly. So you think you're just hanging out, and it's so funny because there's so many things that go into being on the road. Not only is it the music, that's the funny part is the music is just maybe 30 to 60 minutes of your day, if you're lucky to have that much. And then it's the travel, it's the, okay, where are we staying? And at that point I was booking everything myself. Me and my manager Phil at that time, and he was back home, but I'd be calling him. The first time I came over here, I didn't even have a card, like a bank card that worked. Like I had money that I transferred when I got to the airport. Yes. And I was like, okay, I think I had 550 pounds to last like 9 days. And I was like, okay, I'm going to find the cheapest places to stay. But it was just so crazy because I had that will where I was like, I'm going to figure it out.
You're going to make it work.
I remember, and now I'm sounding like an old man, but so on that Walter Trout tour, we rented a sixth van that was like a painter's van. So it had a bench seat because I play in a trio. So I would do the driving, and the drummer and the bass player would sit next to me. And we didn't have a phone that worked. So we would just map everything out, and we would just go for the best. Or best case, we'd have Wi-Fi and we could carry it out, and the map would still be on.
Yes, you'd be like, we're still connected.
Exactly. But then, like, if we missed a turn, it was over. But we would sleep we slept in the Walter Trout tour. We slept in the back of the van, but one person would have to stay in the front to let the other guy out. So, and it was cold. It was like, I remember it was like October or November, and we had sleeping bags in the back of that van. So we would just sleep and then, you know, go get heat, turn the van on or whatever. But all I'm trying to say is it was like, I always had the mentality, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big things I learned really early on with touring, was that it's not easy. It's really not.
You're really paying your dues there. Definitely.
And a lot of times, you know, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And you'll drive, you know, let's say you're going to, especially in the States or whatever, it's like we would go on tours, and it's one thing to think about it online and you're like, yeah, you know, all these people, like it seems like everyone's going to come to our show. You know, at this point it was like on Facebook, we had all these clicks or whatever. We'd show up after 12 hours of driving and play for 4 people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're
we love those 4 people.
We love you.
I hope they're still on board now.
I am so loyal. And for the UK too, there's a lot of I don't even say fans. I think that's kind of a weird word sometimes. They're
they're
my
like music friends.
Yeah, that were there in the beginning and they still come to shows. And, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so special. So that's one of the big things I learned is it's tough, but you have to do whatever it takes.
Well, that moves us nicely on to something that I wanted to ask you, which is obviously, you know, for people who haven't managed to get to a show yet, and you definitely should, you know, a lot of what we see of you is on YouTube or on Instagram and on social media, and you do really kind of let everyone into your world, so you can see like lovely pictures of your wife and the dogs, and like it's, you know, people get that kind of window in. What I wanted to ask you was kind of 2 things. Do you remember the piece of content that you put up that really kind of blew it up? But also, when you're clicking on your phone, who are like 3 accounts that you like absolutely love and could recommend to our Andertons?
Oh yeah, viewers? that's a great, okay. First one, I remember the video. So it would have been 2016. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I live in Nashville now, but essentially I saved up all my money. I was a landscaper.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you need your grass cutter. No, I'm just kidding. But I saved up all my money to move to LA. I had like a few $1,000s and I was hustling, and I had my trio, and I had met Phil at this point, and some things had happened, but I was really trying to figure out what to do. So we got booked on these gigs, and it was like essentially like, it was like, oh, do you guys want to go play this motorcycle rally and play whatever? So I get booked on this gig, and some guy is there from Honda, like Honda Motors. And they were making documentaries at this time. They're called Uncharted. That's what they were called. And they were following essentially like musicians or certain people that are trying to make it in the industry. So they followed me around.
And landscape gardeners.
Yeah, and landscape gardeners.
They were like, get one in. We haven't had one on yet.
We need that one. But essentially, they followed me around, and they were making this documentary. And in the process of it, like some really cool things happened. Like I got invited to tour with Leonard Skinner. And it was,
as you do.
Yeah. And then I got to like jam with them. And it was all these really cool things. So they put this video out. And within like the first 2 days, I think it had like 4 or 5 million hits.
Wow.
And like at the time I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then the first week it had like 12 million hits. And it's called Uncharted by Honda. If anyone wants to see it, you can see an insight into young me, like, you know, like that would have been like 8 years ago. But then this video comes out, and like that same week, I remember I'm at my apartment in Hollywood, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I went from like no one, you know, trying to get 10 likes on a photo, whatever. And I get a phone call, and it says no caller ID. And I answer the call, and I'm like, hello. And it's like, hey, what's up, man? This is Zach Wilde. And I was like, what?
Yeah, of course it is. I've been waiting on you.
Yeah, here you are. And he goes, I'm going on a world tour, and I want you to open. Because I saw the video of you, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, wow.
So lovely.
So that's pretty cool.
Aww.
But yeah, that was the first video. And if anyone wants to watch that, it's pretty funny to see.
That's so special. So he's like your like little guardian angel. He's like the fairy. He's not the fairy godfather.
He's the fairy godfather.
Of rock.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So that kind of elevated everything that you were doing.
Totally elevated everything. And the first show, it was like a week later. It was at the it was supposed to be at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, but I guess they were getting it was the O2 Kentish Forum or whatever. Yeah. But I remember I flew in, and I was like, oh my God, we did like 78 shows or something.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That is so cool.
It was so cool.
So we were speaking before we came on. You speak about England and about Birmingham like you're a local.
Yeah,
so
right.
Before we came on, you were like, oh, you know the place that's like near Mama Rue's when you take that little alleyway this way. And I was like, oh my God, this guy
Totally
knows. So you know when you were a kid back in America and you were like jamming away in your room, did you ever think like, oh, I'm gonna have like, you know, you've got your little haunts all over the world, which is pretty cool. Do you remember the first place you found in England where you were like, oh, I found a real little gem here. I'm going to come back here.
I love England. So like, what was really cool about England for me, like, so I grew up in Wisconsin, right? And like, I never expected to honestly really leave my hometown until I found the guitar. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Can't really do it here. And then it sparked, you know, the passion. But I remember when I first came to England, the first place we went was London, right? And I was like, wow, this is cool, big city vibe. But then I started to do these little trips where like I would go to, oh my goodness, we'd go everywhere. We'd come up to Birmingham. We would go to I would go into the Midlands, right? So I'd be in Wolverhampton or I'd play in
Glenn Hughes's
Oh yeah,
Kingdom.
for sure. That's Glenn Hughes, the Black Country. And then I would go to, I've been all over, of course, Manchester, Newcastle. I would play smaller places like, you're putting me on the spot now, but like, let me think. I'd go to Exeter. I'd go to, like all over.
Did you play, I think it was like the Phoenix?
I played the
in
Phoenix,
Exeter?
yes.
Yeah, I think I remember playing
I've been
there.
to Cardiff.
Back in the day,
I mean, all over. I've probably played maybe about 35 to 40 shows in England now.
So what he's trying to tell us is he's basically British.
Well, what's funny is like I got like
dual citizenship is on the horizon.
Today though, you'll laugh at this. We were at a services and we stopped, and I was going in there because I needed a flapjack because I like flapjacks.
Excellent choice. Yes.
Yeah, and Gordon Ramsay walked in front of us.
Oh wow!
And I was like, that's the most British thing I've ever seen.
But don't you think, I'm waving by the way, a lovely cameraman Oliver behind it, I always feel like when people come over to England, they have experiences that we never have. So like my friend came over from Spain and she, bless her, when the Queen was alive, she was like, I saw the Queen today.
What?
And you're like, oh, I saw Gordon. And it's like, this never happens to us.
He walks into the services and he sees me and I'm like walking in and he like gives me this like weird look and I was like, what's up, man? He goes, hey. And I was like, no one's going to believe that.
It's like, I saw you from Uncharted.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day.
But yeah, I love England. You know what I love? I love touring here and I love the culture, especially musically. Growing up where I grew up, like a lot of my heroes, of course I had the American guys, but the English guys. And it was like, you know, there's such a rich legacy here that for me to come here and play it, it seems kind of funny because I never thought I'd ever come here. And now to come here and like just rock.
Yeah.
So cool.
And have people knowing the songs.
Yeah.
And playing your gear, which is something I really want to talk about as well.
Of course.
So we've got, there's a really cool video, I'm sure the team will link it, of when you met Lee before and then when you spoke about your signature guitars. For people that are watching, having a signature guitar just seems like the coolest thing ever. Talk us through what that's like. So like from the moment they call you and they're like, guess what, you get to do this, to picking everything out, like what's it like?
Okay, so it's kind of like having a signature guitar. So my signature guitar story, it started, it was back in like 2014. So I play without a guitar pick, right? If some people haven't seen me play, and it's kind of this interesting attack where sometimes it comes up here, right? And I remember I was playing Les Pauls. And I was getting so sick of my hands like breaking my nails or whatever and not having space where the neck pickup was. And I truly wasn't using it because at the time I wasn't able to get a really good sound out of it. I was like, man, it sounds too like woolly and bassy. So I would stay on the bridge pickup and I would just like turn it up and then mess around with the knobs or where I picked. And it just gave my hand more room. So watch your feet because I'm going to name drop really hard. So I was in LA and I was rehearsing in a studio and it was late at night with my band.
Actually watch my feet then.
You did?
I'm like, goodness, what's going to happen?
Steven Tyler walks in and he goes, hey man, who the hell are you? And I was like, oh, hey man, I'm Jared. Like, oh my God, Steven Tyler walked in. And he goes, hey, we're making a record in the back. Why don't you come hang out? And I was like, okay. So he came in the room when my band was there. We jammed and then he invited me to watch him record. Joe Perry was there, you know, so I was hanging out. All the boys. I was hanging out there, and I would rehearse at the studio. And one day, Joe Perry walks in with their producer, Jack Douglas, who's old school legend. He did like John Lennon, Cheap Trick, all the old Aerosmith. And they go, he needs a proper Les Paul. You know, because I was playing, at the time, I was playing like a knockoff. It was, I don't even know what it was. I was borrowing it from someone because I didn't even have like a guitar at the time that was my own, right? So anyways, he walks in the back and he grabs a Les Paul Custom. It was like early 70s, and it was incredible, and it had the neck pickup ripped out. And I was like, whoa.
That's funny.
So I went and I hit like a, you know, I hit a thing, and I was like, oh man, that's killer.
I have freedom in this area.
Yeah, so I took a Les Paul. I've talked so much, I'm so sorry. I took this Les Paul.
This is what we want.
Ripped out the neck pickup, and I ripped out 2 of the knobs, took out the switch, and I was like, this is like awesome. And a lot of my like heroes, like there's a guy named Leslie West, and he played Les Paul Juniors, one pickup guitars, so I got fascinated with this one pickup thing. And long story short, when I did those Leonard Skinner dates, one of the guitar players, Ricky Medlock, who's still in the band, he was saying, man, I want to buy your guitar. Your guitar is really cool. And I was like, dude, it's my only guitar. It's not for sale. So he went to Gibson and he goes, I want you to make me a guitar like his.
Wow.
So he goes to the custom shop. And right around the same time, I had started to work with Gibson a little bit. And one of the guys at the custom shop said, man, we can't like just make that guy's guitar. You know, like we can't just.
It's not really how it works.
Yeah. So long story short, someone made him the guitar. And right at the same time, they were like, hey, we want to work with you, and we want to make you a signature guitar. But we think it should be an Epiphone.
Right.
Because of the price point. You're younger, you know, this was in 2018.
Right.
So anyways, they let me design this whole guitar. It was an incredible experience. And then it got really funny because the guitar came out and it did amazing. And it was almost like having a child. I not physically, but it's like having a child, and you're like, there it is. There you are. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you see all these people playing your guitar, and you're like, whoa, like they're digging it. Like, you know.
They might be writing the next, like, Here I Go Again or classic on that guitar. Yeah.
And then it went so well that, like, I went all around the world and I was doing shows and clinics with this new guitar, and it just kept building up momentum. And then like a year and a half later, they're like, hey, we want to do another one.
Love that.
So we did another one. And then they were like, all right, we want to do another one. So then we did another one. So I have 3 of them now.
Got 3?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me.
And now we're working on doing a Gibson. So
it's kind of, it's built up. But I think that's really important. And, you know, obviously, we're a gear channel and we do talk about the different price points, and I think it's so important that that you've got the more kind of accessible option for people. I think so many people are kind of put off by like, oh, I've got to invest in this, but you know, you're investing in yourself if it's going to be a career. And obviously, you know, being creative is great for, you know, your overall mental health and giving something to do. And so I think, you know, obviously we're pro buying guitars naturally, but I think if there's anyone that's a bit wary of like, oh, I don't know whether I should invest in this or not, you know, if you buy good quality, you're going to have that for years, pass it on down to
for sure.
the next generation. And yeah, I think it's a nice thing to invest in, but we are very biased. And I'm looking at this.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because truly for me, like growing up and playing, like I really mean it. I didn't ever think I would be like a professional guitar player. And I was never really worried about how much guitars were costing. You know, like to me, it was like if someone was like, Jared, you know, we got this 80s shredder Charvel guitar or whatever, and it's $350, I'd be like, whoa. Like, that's crazy. What am I going to do with that? So I was always attracted to guitars that were easy to get and affordable. And when they offered it, I remember them specifically saying, they're like, look, we can make it a Gibson Custom or a USA. And my friend Beth there, and she goes, but you need to start with Epiphone because that's attainable.
But also you want people
For
to play
sure.
it, you know? And I think we're all very conscious of like the climate that we're in and things like that. And I think people, when you came out with that, probably thought, oh yeah, I can actually get this. And I think that's really important. That,
so important.
You know,
And then I hold on to
Everyone
things
can play
like
it.
these.
Yes, well,
and I
I'm going to
go,
get
"Oh,
onto
come
this
on."
because we've gone from one extreme to another now. So I have become more well versed in the vintage world
Yeah,
recently.
sure.
And I know a lot of people will know the story behind this gorgeous guitar, but I would love for you to tell it for people who are learning about it for the first time.
For sure. All right. Well, so this guitar, long story short, I'm going to try and keep it short. I was contacted I actually scratched the date I got it on the back of this plate. So it was 4/21/2021 when I got this guitar. And it's not a fan, it's a friend, because this guy truly is a music friend now. He sent me a picture on Instagram and he said, hey man, his name's TJ Duckweiler, and he goes, I found this guitar after a tornado. And I know you like old guitars, and it reminded me of you. He's been hanging on to it for like 8 years. So I clicked the picture, it said like tap to view. So I was like, I tap it, and I'm like, what is this gonna be? And I see this, it was the body of this guitar, and it was full of mud, and it was all just disgusting with no neck. The neck was snapped off. And I was like, that is a really early Les Paul. So I hit him up and I'm like, hey man, what are you doing with that? And he goes, oh, I want to get it restored. And he's like, I'm thinking about taking it to Gibson. And I said, man, I do know what that is. And he goes, yeah, actually, it took a while. We had to find the owner of it in the town where this tornado was, that it was devastating, like this tornado. And the original owner claimed it on their insurance. And they told them, just hang it on your wall. It's broken. So I'm talking with him and I'm giving him some pointers of where to take it, who could maybe restore it or whatever. And I said, at the end, I just said, hey, if you would ever sell it, or, you don't ever do anything with it, I said, please keep me in mind. I would love to get the guitar, and I would buy it off you, and I would get it restored and play it, right? And I gave him my phone number, and like 2 days later, he calls, and he said, hey, man, I was talking to my wife about it, and...
Very smart man. Always run it past your wife.
Ran it past his wife,
Yeah.
and he said, we just want to give it to you.
Aww.
And I went, well, I don't feel good about that. And he said, listen, it landed in my yard after a tornado. He said, it's been sitting here for years. He goes, I like the idea of someone like you who is traveling and playing to get the guitar. And maybe, he said, maybe you'd want to record a song with it or use it, right? And that's funny to think, because now this guitar is probably the most played vintage Les Paul on the planet right now.
Yes, and
Seriously.
it's very seen. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I
for
see
sure.
this guitar every
Here,
day.
you
So
hold
I'm
it.
like, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I hold it enough. So then,
cool.
so we end up, I go to meet him and I try and give him some money for it. And he's like, I didn't buy it. I'm not going to sell it to you. And I get the guitar and I send it to a friend of mine, Joel at JW Restoration. And he was in Pennsylvania. And essentially, I say to him, you can see all like the...
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I'd say, listen, could you build a neck and like fix it? Maybe I could play it. And he gets the guitar and he goes, man, like this is insane. I send it to him, right? And like all of the pickups, the knobs, it was missing one knob. It was all that was there still. So none of the electronics ever got touched.
I feel like I want to put it closer for people. But
Do
I
it,
don't
yeah,
know
do
if
it.
I'm gonna,
And I'll keep
like,
talking.
Do it justice.
Do it up. And then, so Joel, it took him a long time, but he crafted the neck by hand, and he really put like his tender love into it, because when he got the guitar, bless him, it was rough.
In a state.
It was in a state.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Then I go to Joel and I say, man, how much, And he goes, oh my goodness, I don't want your money, He's like, I want to honor the people that tragically passed away. Aww. And that this rose from such a horrible situation.
Yeah.
And
It
yeah. And unfortunately, and when I got the guitar from Joel, I remember I was in Pennsylvania somewhere on tour with a guitar player named John Five. And I looked at John, I was like, dude, I need to get my amps up and I need to plug it in. And it was in much better shape than it is now, because I've been playing it.
It looks so cool, and just it's for anyone who's into vintage. It's just a tasty little number. It looks
for
so
sure,
cool. Yes.
for sure. And so I plug it in, and like instantly the place got quiet, and everyone was like, "Whoa," So yeah, it's been with me now for like 3 years, and It's funny because like I've grown so attached to this guitar because to me, I've had so many awesome Les Pauls, new ones, old ones, ones with PAF pickups and, like burst style, whatever. This is the one that speaks to me the most. Yeah. And last week, unfortunately, I woke up and my friend Joel that fixed the guitar, who said this was going to be his last guitar he ever did. He kept making guitar. He kept doing stuff, but he passed away. So it was like a really weird moment because like I talked to him a day or two before and I told him, I said, man, I'm getting ready to go to the UK and it's called Dorothy. I was like, Dorothy will be in the UK. And he's like, oh, it's just so great. And, he had to have a surgery. He had some medical issues going on. But it's just weird, because it's like he put a lot of his heart and soul into it. And there was a lot of a lot. And emotionally now, you only get attached.
He was very well loved, I was going to say, by a lot of people in the community. Yeah. And the fact that it's like that love has been put into this is very, very special.
He was so funny. He would send me, because it's all about like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and like the tornado and stuff. And he would send me like random pictures of like old cutouts of like Dorothy. And he's like, here, put this in it was just so funny. And like sometimes you don't realize until someone's gone or something's gone, what it means. And now like when I have this, it's like, shit, man, like it's just cool. I'm just going to play
It's very, very special.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that are also very special, you've got quite a lot going on this year.
Totally.
So tell our lovely viewers where they can see you. Obviously, Andertons is global.
Yes,
and you're global,
yeah,
so it's
totally.
a good fit. Yes.
Okay, so I'm over here in the UK for like the next week. Flew in just a few days ago to do some festivals. I have some solo shows. Tonight I'm doing that clinic, but then I have some shows with Living Color. So that's all fun. That's happening now. By the time this airs, I have to go back to Germany in September to play some shows. I have like a full US tour with Queensryche, which will be really fun. That kicks off in October until essentially the holiday season. And stay tuned for when I'm back in the UK because I'm sure it's going to be soon. There was a guy at the show last night. He goes, this is my third time seeing you in 7 months.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that means I shouldn't come here this month. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think he's just dedicated.
He's totally
We all
dedicated.
need a fan like you.
Absolutely.
He knows who he is.
Absolutely.
Bless you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come today. And I've enjoyed this so much. It's been so lovely getting to meet you. And I feel like we all know like lots of mutual people that know Jared. So now I'm like, I've got to meet him.
The circle is closed.
The circle is closed.
I love it.
So something that I like to do, and I don't know whether people are going to watch this and be like, oh, I'm not into this manifestation mumbo jumbo, but I really do believe in like setting goals. And I would love to know, because obviously we looked back on your like Walter Trout days and the things that have happened since. This is kind of like our little time capsule now.
Yeah.
So let's set some goals for like the next 5 years. And hopefully we'll catch up with you before then. But let's have a little think. What are some things that hopefully next time we see you, you'll have done?
Okay, so let me think like in a musical way. Yeah. The goals I have are to honestly just continue to follow my own path creatively, keep recording and writing material that speaks to me, that also hopefully speaks to other people. Of course, stay on tour and just continue to wave the flag for the music I love. I think that's a really big goal for me, is to just like not waver and not stop, because I think it's very important to continue on, and you know what I mean? Give the music it's give myself up to it essentially, right? So that's a goal, is to just continue down the path I'm already doing. And then like personal goals or like playing goals, it's kind of the same thing. I always equate like guitar playing to like your personality. I just, when I pick up the guitar now, I don't even think anymore about like scales or chords or whatever. It's like I just want to be able to speak through the guitar. So it's like I'm just, hopefully before the time I see you, and it better be before 5 years, I'll continue down that path. And, you know, I feel like I'm already at a point where I've found where I want to go and what I want to do. And I'm on that path. So it's just continuing to be me and just have a good time doing it.
So like staying consistent and just...
Stay out of jail.
I mean, that's
a
good one
Things
for
like
all
that.
of us. Stay safe out there, kids. Don't go to prison.
Yeah, no prison, no crime. No. But yeah, it's almost like my biggest goals are to just continue to have a great time. Life's short, and just play and, just love each other.
Oh,
That's it.
See, that's a lot deeper than what I was going to say, because I thought you might be like, I'm playing the O2 Arena in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm doing the O2 Arena.
Very, very sweet.
I'm trying to get 1 million likes on it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It's none of that stuff's cool, but the real stuff is the real stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we live for.
Bless you. Well, that's so lovely, and I'm so glad that we got to have this time today to properly chat. And for our lovely Andertons audience, this is you're my first interview actually on Andertons.
I'm so excited.
So I really hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you for giving us your time today as well. And I'm sure if you want to catch up on the videos that Jared did with Lee before, we'll link them below, and obviously we'll also link the amazing signature guitars and the Black Star amp. But if you want to be Jared by the end of this video, you can, because you can go on Andertons and get everything you
Go to Andertons right now and make sure to subscribe and follow everything that you do.
Thank you.
And if you're going to make a comment, just make it about me. Be like, what's wrong with that guy? He talks too much.
No, we love a chat, and that's what this is all about.
Totally.
So thank you so much, and have a fab time on the rest of the tour. Stay out of prison.
I'm going to stay out of prison.
Yeah.
That's my goal, if anyone asks.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to our latest podcast. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button. See you next time.